Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of Qianmo. Recently, I have watched a TV series on Netflix called The Playlist. It is a story based on creation of the music player Spotify. It gives some insight into the music industry, which I find quite interesting. So I did a bit of research into the music industry and I'd like to share it with you. All businesses start with a vision, and on this TV show, Spotify's visionist is the founder of Spotify, Daniel Ek. The founder's goal is to build the world's first and best legal music streaming services. He sees such a picture about the imminent streaming service and the music freedom, and he found a group of coders who made this product come to life, which is exactly what we see today, the Spotify streaming platform. But there is one problem, and that is a huge problem, which is the copyright of the music. Yes, the copyright. Without getting the copyright of the music, there can never be Spotify. To know why the copyright is so important in the launching of Spotify, let's try to understand how the music industry works. Before Spotify, there has been quite a few websites that provide free download of music. They are loved by almost all music lovers, but they face one big problem. They don't have the copyright of the music. So they are all illegal and facing huge lawsuits from the owners of the music. Companies who own the most of the music copyright is the record companies, or referred to as record labels. Because in the 1940s, music was recorded in a vinyl album, and the record companies' names were labeled on the albums. So you could have a grasp of what a history the record companies have and how influential they can be in the music industry. Record companies participate in the production, manufacturing, distribution, marketing, promotion, and enforcement of the copyrights in the creation of music products. They help a singer to create great songs. Since they are participated in so many steps as well as the distribution channel in creating the music, many times they own the master recording, which is the final recording of the music. When it comes to the music's copyright, there are different types. One is the copyright of the composition, which is the lyrics and the melody of that song. This belongs to the songwriter or the singer. The other copyright is the final recorded product. It is known as the masters. This is the key commercial copyright where most of the income derives from, because it is the master copyright that gets to be used in the music stations, TV, films, albums, etc. So sometimes you could see the news that singers like Taylor Swift re-recording her own songs, because for some of her old songs, she only has the composition copyright, but not the master's copyright. By re-recording, she gets the master's copyright that she recorded for herself. The old master version still exists, but they are devalued a little bit because the singers now have their own versions of masters too. Spotify needs to be able to use the songs on their own sites. So the founder must talk with the major recording companies who own most of the master's copyright of most songs. Now let's have a look at things from the record company's perspective. What is important to the record companies then? In the existing music industry, record companies used to hold the distribution channel. The biggest challenge that companies like Spotify brings is that they may not control the distribution channel anymore. And this is inevitable. If it is not Spotify, it would be Sporty something else. So this is a major turning point to them. If not careful, it can be the end of the world to them. The good news to them, though, is that they still hold most of the music's master copyright. Each party has something important enough that they could lose and something important enough that the other party needs. So this formed the foundation for negotiation. The record company's concern is, by giving the masters to Spotify, can they get sufficient income to make sure that they survive? Because once Spotify gets the copyright, it is pretty sure they will never get any income from the old sources like albums. So they are not going to be so easily given the copyright to Spotify unless for enough return to ensure they stay alive. Spotify, on the other hand, didn't wish to give them too much profit because they need money to maintain their sites and the running of their business, which burns money every day. It needs to make sure itself survives too. The negotiation becomes quite hard. So how did they break out from this predicament? In fact, what turns the whole story to a happy ending is the change of Spotify's business model. I had another video talking about business model, but in very short words, business model is how the business charges its fees. Spotify's initial business model is to offer free music but make money from selling advertisements, which is a typical business model used by businesses in social media. Record companies, however, are not happy with this because they don't believe that would be profitable enough. So they want more profit sharing, which would leave Spotify having no money left to run the business. There were fierce arguments whether Spotify should charge their users, because if they do, they may lose the users to pirate sites, because all pirate sites charges nothing. After rounds of negotiations, eventually they came to an idea which created the playlist function of Spotify that we see now. The music is free, but the creation of your own playlist is valuable and chargeable. So from there, Spotify Premium came to place. From the point of viewing a business, well, this is such a smart solution. With this solution, it was eventually agreed that Spotify retains 30% of the income and the other 70% goes to the record companies for allowing Spotify to use the copyright. At last, let's have a look at all the stakeholders in the picture. Some artists are actually hurt because they are the singer of the songs, but somehow they could not earn much from Spotify. How does this happen? Well, as we know, Spotify's revenue comes from the premium users' monthly fees. Those fees allocated to all streams over that month usually ended up with paying the artists or the right holders $0.003 to $0.005 US per stream after splitting the 70/30 of the revenue, which is 30% to Spotify and 70% to the artist or the right holders. So let's say an artist gets 10 million streams for the songs for a month, and let's say the payout rate for that month is 0.4 per stream. Then Spotify is liable for a payout of $40,000 US. That sounds quite good, right? Well, that works well if the artist holds the master's right, which, as we have mentioned before, quite often it's the record companies who holds the right. So in that case, those money would be paid to the record companies. Then it depends on the agreements between the record companies and the singers, how much are paid between them. Usually, the singers gets somewhere between 15% to 25%. Let's say as singers, you are getting paid from the record companies for 20%, then you get paid $8,000. Wouldn't be too bad either if you are the only singer of the songs, right? But if you are in a band, then your income gets split up again. Let's say if you have 5 people in the band, then you get $1,600 for 10 million streams. Then you'll probably be thinking, why do I become an artist, right? Perhaps I should be an accountant instead. Not every singer is in a similar situation though, but to some artists, it can happen in this way. So it appears in this transition prompted by the internet technology, some artists have been worse off. They may not receive enough payout as full-time artists. But in the meantime, the internet and the advent of Spotify also empowers some artists to record their own songs and get exposure directly on the internet, because the distribution channel are not owned only by the record companies nowadays. So that's about some background information about the music industry and Spotify that I've done some research on and sharing with you. The TV show is actually filmed in a quite different yet quite touching way. I think it's worth watching if you suddenly got interested in the music industry. From an accounting point of view, what we can get out of this story and the industry background is the copyright is an important asset. I am an accountant and I worked in business services in Australian accounting firms for over 12 years. I have produced the most practical technical training courses for junior accountants to improve performance and reduce write-offs. I also constantly produce free training materials for junior accountants to have an accelerating career. Check out my website and the social groups that I've created. All the links are pasted below in this video. Okay, that's all I wish to share in this video. Thank you for watching and see you next time.